send out a note. Oops. All right, and check to see if we are actually online. We are actually online. That's fantastico. Okay, so we're going to get started. We have a little treat for you in the beginning, but first we'll chant. All right, here we go. Okay, let's get the guitar. Caitanya Caritamrta Antya Badanmu isabadana mate Jakara prasade pai Eva Vittori ayaye Krishna prabhe oya moite Guru mukha Padma Bhakya Chite Gauri Akarya Aruna Gauri Amane Asa Shri Guru Charane Rate Aise Uttamagate Ekrasare Guru Sarva Tapsunandiro ye Janme Janme Prabhu say Divekyan Reva Kasita Divekyan Reva Kasita Prema Bhakti Aoiti Abhijavadasa Yate Kaya Charita Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adamachana Ravandu Kana Kira Divana Abrahmudaya Deyamore Padachaya Epias Kusatri Bhuvana Yas Kusatri Bhuvana Prabhupada, 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 Namo Vishnu Vaya, Krishna Vishnu Puraya, Shrimate Samanitina Namaste Saraswati Deve Bhuvani Pujarane Vilasesha Bhari Shacharade Satane Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhupada Shri Advaita Gadana Siva Sadi Gurubhakta Vrindana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Vasani Govardhana Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Haribo 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 Chaco Haribo Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravatakacharya All Sutela Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanana Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shiveda Gadadha Shiva Sri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Saim Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturam Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shivadi Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Gaur All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shivadi Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravadi Pacharani Nivashesha Shanyabadi Paschatya Deja Tarani. So I offer, Om Ganat Timiranda Shah Gananjana Shlakya Chakshur Unmiditam Yeda Tasmai Shikadave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So, we're going to continue with our reading of the Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, but first I have a little present for all of you, or surprise. I'm going to show you some pictures of the Rath Yatra that occurred yesterday. Not just pictures, a video of the Rath Yatra that occurred yesterday. So you just see the extent and the greatness and the grandeur of the Rath Yatra. So let's just share the screen. Hopefully I can share it. Let's see, I have it opened. Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. It won't share that. Oh, I know what I need to do. Okay, let's see if this works. Yeah, that's it. Let's see if this shares. Let's see if that shares all right. If not, then we may be bereft to see in the Rath Yatra. Okay, I think we got it. Hopefully.
The way they, this is the chariot of Goddess Subhadra, draped. The highlighted color is black
Let me just.
and the common color is red. And this symbolizes the energy. Red stands for energy, and this is the sea of people. And it is getting thicker and thicker. And the temperature there in Puri is 30 degrees Celsius. Not much of humidity is there, and that has been very conducive to the cheer of the devotees, eager devotees there.
Yeah.
So this is how it continues, and after that, there would be the movement of Darpadalana or Devadalana, the chariot of Goddess Subhadra, and at the end of
You
it,
can see how
the
many
line of
people are
divine
there. You can see how many people are
Lord
there.
Himself, Lord of all Lords, Lord of universe, Lord Jagannatha would move with his Nandi Ghosha. And this is the sea of people, the crowd. It is getting thicker and thicker. There are waves and the ripples I can see. This is how the ripples are there, ripples of अवतारा कलो आयात सा भव दुख खंडन परा भद्रा सुभद्रा सदा माँ सुभद्र की समस्त भक्तों की दुख क्लेश को खंडन करने के लिए रथ यात्रा में निकल पड़ी और माँ क्षमामयी, माँ दयामयी, इसीलिए कहा गया क्षमामयी तू दयामयी है, क्षेममयी है, विभवशालिनी विश्वपालिनी दुख हरती है, हे देवी तू करती सबका त्राण है, आप सबका त्राण करने वाली है। अभी महाप्रभु श्री जगन्नाथ जी का रथ नंदी घोष अभी प्रस्तुत है, भक्त प्रस्तुत, अभी रथ भी रथ तैयार, no different from Brahma according to.
Whoops. Sorry about that.
Why doesn't every home in the US have solar panels? The number one reason is not about sunlight or weather or even.
That's the king of Puri.
नमस्कार की मुद्रा में कांगनान में बैठ करके सीधे रथ की ओर बढ़ रहे हैं। महाप्रभु की ये आज्ञा से वे सेवक जो रथ बड़े से छोटे क्रम में अपनी सेवा प्रदान करेंगे। कहा गया प्रभु की ये सेवा करने से पहले आपको एक
मोहित हो जाते हैं, जिसके रूप सौंदर्य में हम बह जाते हैं। गोपियां इसीलिए तो कहती हैं मधुकर श्याम हमारे चोर, वो तो हमारे चोर हैं जिन्होंने हमें हमारे परिवार से तो अलग किया ही है।
Okay, I thought that would be good to give you a little brief view of the extent of the Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri. It is big, and there were several devotees from the Western world there. Of course, they didn't go down with the crowd, but they were paying to actually be in one of the balconies around there. So it's simply an amazing, amazing festival. I don't recommend that you mix with the crowd down there because you may get crushed, but it's good to watch from the balconies. And you didn't see this, but at the same time there were many fire trucks spraying water because it was extremely hot there, just to keep everybody cool so nobody would pass out or die from the heat. Amazing, amazing, amazing festival. And so let's go on to the Srimad Bhagavatam, to the Caitanya Caritamrta now. Okay. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Okay. Whoops. Hold on a second. I expanded the screen too much here. All right, so we're continuing with our discussion or reading about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's interactions with Jagadananda Pandit. That's what this chapter is. It's chapter 12 in the Antya lila of the Sri Caitanya Caritamrta. So let's go. Hold on a second. Hey Mata Nana Lilaya Chatumasha Gela Goda Deshe Aite Tabe Bhakti Yagya Dila. In this way, the Lord spent the 4 months of the rainy season in various pastimes, and then he ordered the Bengali devotees to return to their homes. Sarvabhakta Karena Mahaprabhura Nimantrana Sarvabhakti Kahena Prabhu Madhura Vachana. All the devotees from Bengal would regularly invite Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for lunch, and the Lord would speak to them in very sweet words. Prativarshe Aisaksave Amare de Kite Asite Yaite Tukapao Bahumate. All of you come to see me every year, the Lord said. To come here and then return must certainly give you great trouble. Tomasavara Dukajani Jahi Nishedite Tomasavara Sangha Suke Lobambate Chite. I would like to forbid you to do this, but I enjoy your company so much that my desire for your association only increases. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is feeling great compassion for the devotees who have taken so much trouble to come to Jagannath Puri, because at that time there were no trains, there were no cars, perhaps they had bullock carts, but they actually walked all the way there. Nityananda Tilun Korete Rakite Agyalangi Hailaki Parivalite. I ordered Sri Nityananda Prabhu not to leave Bengal, but he has transgressed my order to come and see me. What can I say? As I mentioned before, Lord Nityananda transgressed Lord Chaitanya's order to stay in Bengal and preach out of love for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Alena Chara Goswami More Kripakari Prema Rene Badayami Shudhite Na Pari. Out of his causeless mercy upon me, Advaita Acharya has also come here. I am indebted to him for his affectionate behavior. This debt is impossible for me to liquidate. Moralagi Sri Putra Grahari Chariya Nana Durgama Patta Langi Aishena Thana. All my devotees come here just for me, leaving aside their homes and families. They travel by very difficult paths to come here in great haste. Amiye Nilachile Rahiye Vasiya Parishrama Nahi Mora Toma Sabara Lagiya. There is no fatigue or trouble for me, for I stay here at Nilachal Jagannath Puri and do not move at all. This is the favor of all of you. Sannyasi Manusha Mora Nahi Kona Dana Ki Diya Tumhara Rina Karimu Shodana. I am a mendicant and have no money. How can I clear my debt for the favor you have shown me? This is something like Krishna saying to the gopis, that there's no way I can repay your debt. You have to be satisfied with your own devotion, your own love. Dehamatra danatamara kailun samarpana dahan vikaya han vichite tamara mana. I have only this body, and therefore I surrender it unto you. Now if you wish, you may sell it anywhere like you like. It is your property. Prabhuravachane sabara dravi bhuta mana adhora nayane sabe karena krandana. When all the devotees heard these sweet words of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, their hearts melted and they began to shed incessant tears. Prabhu sabara gala dari karena rodana Kandite Kandite Sabhaya Kaila Lingana. Catching hold of his devotees, the Lord embraced them all and began to cry and cry. It shows how much love Lord Chaitanya has for his devotees. Sabhaya Rahila Keha Chalite Narila Aradina Pancha Sata Emate Gela. Unable to leave, everyone remained there, and 5 or 7 more days thus passed by. Advaita Vaduta Kichud Kahi Prabhu Paiha Sahaji Tamara Gune Jagat Vikaiha. Advaita Prabhu and Lord Nityananda Prabhu submitted these words at the lotus feet of the Lord. The entire world is naturally obligated to you for your transcendental attributes. Abharatatibandha Achi Kripa Bhakyadare Tomachari Keva Khan Yai Bare Pare. Yet you bind your devotees again with your sweet words. Under these circumstances, who can go anywhere? Tavi Prabhu Sabakare Prabodha Kariya Sapari Vidaya Tila Shustira Andha. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu peacefully calmed them all and bade each of them farewell. Nityananda Kahila Tumi Nasiha Bada Bada Tatayamara Sangha Ive Tumara. The Lord specifically advised Nityananda Prabhu, you should not come here again and again. You will have my association in Bengal. Because he wanted Lord Nityananda to stay in Bengal to preach Krishna consciousness. Chale Sabha Bhaktagana Rodana Kariya Mahaprabhu Rakila Kare Vishana Hana. The devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began their journey crying, while the Lord remained morosely at his residence. So the Lord was experiencing separation from his devotees, and the devotees were experiencing separation from the Lord. Nija Kripa Gune Prabhu Pandila Sabhare Mahaprabhura Kripanrina Keshutite Pare. The Lord bound everyone by his transcendental mercy. Who can repay his debt, this debt for the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Yare Yache Nachaya Prabhu Swatantra Ishvara Tate Tanre Chari Loka Yaya Deshantara. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the fully independent personality of Godhead and makes everyone dance as he likes. Leaving his company, therefore, all the devotees return to their homes in different parts of the country. Kastera Putaliyena Kuhakena Chaiha Ishvara Charatra Kitchu Ushananayaya. As a wooden doll dances to the will of a puppeteer, everything is accomplished by the will of the Lord. Who can understand the characteristics of the Supreme Person? Purvavarshe Jagadananda Aideki Vare Prabhuvadyad Lana Hela Nadia Nagare. The previous year, Jagadananda, following the Lord's order, had returned to the city of Nadia to see Sachimata. Sachimata, of course, is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mother. Aira Charana Yai Karila Vandana Jagannatha Vastra Prasada Kaila Nivedana. When he arrived, he offered prayers at her lotus feet, and then offered her the cloth and prasadam of Lord Jagannath. Prabhura Name Matare Dandavat Kaila Prabhura Vinatik Stuti Matare Kahila. He offered obeisances to Sachimata in the name of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and informed her of all the Lord's submissive prayers to her. Jagadanandai Pananmata Anandita Mane Teno Prabhura Katakahi Shune Ratri Dine. Jagadananda's coming pleased Mother Shachi so much, very much. As he talked of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, she listened day and night. Jagadananda Kai Mata Kona Kona Dine Tumare Tasi Prabhu Karena Bojane. Jagadananda Pandit said, "My dear mother, sometimes the Lord comes here and eats all the food you have offered." Bojana Kariya Kai Ananditana Mataji Koya Yaila Kakanta Puriha. After eating the food, the Lord says, "Today mother has fed me up to my neck." Amiyai Bojana Kari Mata Nahi Jane Sakshate Kai Amiten Ho Swapna Hena Manhe. I go there and eat the food my mother offers, but she cannot understand that I'm eating it directly. She thinks that this is a dream. Mata Kahe Katarandi Uttama Vyanjana Nimani Han Kaya Icha Hayamora Manat. Sachimata said, "I wish Nimai would eat all the nice vegetables I cook. That is my desire." Nimani Kanache Yache Hayamora Mana Pache Gyana Hayamuni Dekinu Swapana. Sometimes I think that Nimai has eaten them, But afterwards, I think that I was only dreaming. E mata Jagadananda Shachimata Sene Chaitanyara Sukakata Kairatri Hintine. In this way, Jagadananda Pandit and Mother Sachi talked day and night about the happiness of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nadiyara Bhattagane Sabare Milila Jagadanande Panasabe Anandita Hela. Jagadananda Pandit met all the other devotees in Nadia. They were all very happy to have him present. Acharya Militi Tabe Gela Jagadananda Jagadanande Panahela Charya Ananda. Jagadananda Pandit thereafter went to meet Advaita Acharya, who also was very happy to receive him. So one thing about Mother Sachi preparing for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preparing food, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Jagannath Puri, and Mother Sachi, of course, was in Mayapur Dham, sometimes she'd make the offering, and then Lord Chaitanya would eat everything, and it would be gone. She'd go to the altar and find all the plates empty, and she's thinking, did I actually make the offering, or did I not make the offering? So in this way, Lord Chaitanya directly took the foodstuffs that she was offering to him. Vasudeva Murari Gupta Jaganande Pana Anande Rakila Dikare Nadena Chariha. Vasudev Dutt and Murari Gupta were so pleased to see Jagadananda Pandit, they kept him at their homes and would not allow him to leave, because they wanted to hear news about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Caitanya Ramana Kata Shune Tanra Mukhe Hapana Pasare Sabi Chaitanya Kata Sukhe. They heard confidential narrations about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from the mouth of Jagadananda Pandit and forgot themselves in the great happiness of hearing about the Lord. Jagadananda Milite Haya Ye Bhakta Kare Se Bhakta Sukhe Apana Pasare. Whenever Jagadananda Pandit went to visit a devotee's house, that devotee immediately forgot himself in great happiness. Chaitanya Prema Patra Jagadananda Danya Yare Mile Se Mane Pailun Chaitanya. All glories to Jagadananda Pandit. He is so favored by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that anyone who meets him thinks, now I have gotten the association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu directly. Shivananda Senagrihe Yana Rakila Chandanari Taila Khan Ekamatra Kaila. Jagadananda Pandit stayed at the house of Shivananda Sen for some time, and they prepared about 16 years of sandalwood oil. That's quite a bit. Sugandhi Kariya Taila Jagari Variya Nilachale Lanat Aila Yatana Kariya. They filled a large earthen pot with the aromatic oil, and with great care Jagadananda Pandit brought it to Nilachala at Jagannath Puri. So now you can hear some interesting exchanges between Jagadananda Pandit and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And you're going to hear about Jagadananda Pandit's man, or anger, in the mood of Satyabhama. Govindera Tani Taila Tarya Rakila Prabhu Anga Diha Taila Govinda Kahila. The oil was placed in the care of Govinda, and Jagadananda requested him, please rub this oil on the body of the Lord. Tavi Prahutani Govinda Kaila Nivedana Jagadananda Chanda Nadi Taila Aniyachena. Govinda therefore told Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jagadananda Pandit has brought some scented sandalwood oil. Tanricha Prabhu Alpa Mastakela Gaiha Pitavayo Vyadi Prakopa Shantahana Yaya. It is his desire that your lordship apply a little of this oil on your head, so that blood pressure due to bile and air will be considerably diminished. Eka Kalasa Sugandhi Taila Godete Kariya Ihana Chevahu Yatana Kariya. He has prepared a large jug of it in Bengal, and with great care he has brought it here. Prabhu Kahi Sanyasira Nahi Taile Adhikara Tahate Sugandhi Taila Paramadikara. The Lord replied, a sannyasi has no use for oil, especially perfumed oil such as this. Take it out immediately. So according to Raghuనందన Bhattacharya, the spokesman for the smart regulator principles. Pratasnane Pratishrade Dvadasham Grahane Tata Majalepa Samam Tailam Tasmat Tailam Vivarjayat. One who smears oil on his body while observing a vow in conjunction with a ritual, while bathing in the morning, while performing the Shraddha ceremony, or on Dvadasi day may as well pour wine over his body. Therefore, oil should be rejected. This is a smarter regulation. In other words, we don't have to follow that. Because actually, Srila Prabhupada took a massage sometimes with sandalwood oil, if it was cold, or with other types of oil, mustard oil that is, when it was actually sandalwood oil when it was hot, and mustard oil when it was cold. I got it reversed. So this word vrata vow is sometimes understood to refer to the sannyas vrata. Raghunandana Bhattacharya has also said in his book Titi Tattva, Gritam sa sar shabham tailam yak tailam pushpa vasitam adushtam pakva tailam cha tailav yange janitya shaha. This means that clarified butter, ghee, mustard oil, floral oil, and boiled oil may be used only by grahastas or householders. Now, Srila Prabhupada, as he said, took mustard oil practically every day when it was cold. The mustard oil is actually heating, and he used sandalwood oil when it was hot. So this is just a ritual that we don't have to follow these particular injunctions. Jagannathe deha taila deepa yena jwalai tara parishrama thaive paramasa palai. Deliver this oil to the temple of Jagannath, where it may be burned in the lamps. In this way, Jagannathananda's labor in manufacturing the oil will be perfectly successful. That's fine. Ekata Govinda Jagannathe re kahila mona kari rahila pandita kichuna kahila. When Govinda informed Jagannatha Pandit of this message, Jagannathananda remained silent, not saying even a word. He was really angry. Dina, out of love for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because his whole attempt to serve Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was frustrated. Dina dasha gele Govinda janaila harabara panditera chataila Prabhu kare angikara. When 10 days had passed, Govinda again told Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, "It is the desire of Jagannatha Pandit that your lordship accept this oil." Shuni Prabhu kahi kichu sakroda vachana mardaniya ikaraka karite mardana. When the Lord heard this, he angrily said, "Why not keep a masseur to massage me?" E sukalagayami karilun sannyasa amara savanasha toma sabara parihasa. Have I taken sannyas for such happiness? Accepting this oil will bring my rumination, and all of you would laugh. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declared himself a strict sannyasi. A sannyasi is not supposed to take help from anyone. Retaining a masseur to give him massages will indicate his dependence on others. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to follow very strictly the principle of not accepting anyone's help for his bodily comfort. Of course, at the same time, we see that Srila Prabhupada had a daily massage, at least 2 daily massages, for his help, because he basically was showing the principle of yukta vairagya. And when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained in Jagannath Puri, he was showing the Paramahamsa sannyas state. And when Srila Prabhupada was traveling around and preaching, that's the Paravajakacharya state. And there's many different reasons for that. But Prabhupada saw the body simply as something to be used for Krishna, and therefore whatever is necessary to keep the body going nicely, which was the massage, and he probably took medicine, and he had his walk. All these things helped Srila Prabhupada. Pateyaite tailaganda mora ye pabe, dari sannyasi kare, amare kahibe. If someone passing on the road smelled this oil on my head, he would think me a dari sannyasi, a tantric sannyasi who keeps women. Shuni Prabhu Ravakya Govinda Mona Kadila Pratakale Jagannananda Prabhu Stani Aila. Hearing these words of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Govinda remained silent. The next morning, Jagannananda went to see the Lord. Prabhu kahe pandita taila anila goda ite amita sanyasi taila napadila ite. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said to Jagadananda Pandit, my dear Pandit, you have brought me some oil from Bengal, but since I am in the renounced order, I cannot accept it. Jagannathe te halana deepa yena dwale, tomara sakala shrama haive sapale. Deliver the oil to the temple of Jagannath, so that it may be burned in the lamps. Thus your labor in preparing the oil will be fruitful. So this is Lord Chaitanya's attitude. I'm a sannyasi. I should not be using this oil in my body. It smells. And also it was scented sandalwood oil, not just regular sandalwood oil. It had some sort of the scents in it too. So, Pandita kahe, ke tumare kahe vityavani, amigoda haite taila, kavunahi ani. Jagadananda Pandit replied, who tells you all these false stories? I never brought any oil from Bengal. He was angry. Eta baligare haite taila kalasalana, praburage angi nate, lila bangia. After saying this, Jagadananda took the jug of oil from the room and threw it down before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the courtyard and broke it. Phew! And remember, this oil was worth, in those days, like thousands of dollars worth of oil. Wow. Wow. Taila bangi se pate nijagara tigya shuya rahilagare kapata kilia. After breaking the jug, Jagadananda Pandit returned to his residence, bolted the door, and lay down. Tritiya divase prabhu tanra dwarayana utaha panditakari kahena dakya. 3 days later, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the door of his room and said, my dear Jagadananda Pandit, please get up. Ajibikshadiva hamaya kariyarandane majane asivaye yaidarashane. I want you personally to cook my lunch today. I'm going now to see the Lord in the temple. I shall return at noon. So the Lord wanted to give him service just to get him out of his funk. Eta bali prabhu gela pandita utila snana kari nana vyanjana randana karila. After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said this and left, Jagadananda Pandit got up from his bed, bathed, and began to cook varieties of vegetables. In other words, he was just sitting there in his room or lying there in his room for 3 days without eating. I don't know if he was drinking, but without eating. He was so angry, upset, discouraged, depressed. Majana kariya prabhu aila bhojane para shalana kari dilena asane. After finishing his noontime ritualistic duties, the Lord arrived for lunch. Jagadananda Pandit washed the Lord's feet and gave the Lord a sitting place. Sangrata shalyana kalapate stupakala kalara dundamare vyanjana chodike darila. He had cooked fine rice, mixed it with ghee, and piled it high on a banana leaf. There were also varieties of vegetables placed all around in pots made of banana tree bark. Ana vyanjano pari tulasi manjari jagannathero pitapana age anetari. On the rice and vegetables were tulasi flowers, and in front of the Lord were cakes, sweet rice, and other prasadam of Jagannath. Prabhu kahe dvitiyapati varana vyanjana tumara maya jiya katra kariba bhojana. The Lord said, spread another leaf with a helping of rice and vegetables, so that today you and I may take lunch together. Hasti tuli rahena prabhu nakaherena bhojana tabi pandita kahena kichu saprema vachana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kept his hands raised and would not accept the prasadam until Jagannath Pandit, with great affection and love, spoke the following words. Apane prasada laha pache muni lahimu tumara graha ami kemane kandimu. Please first take prasadam yourself, and I shall eat later. I shall not refuse your request. Tabi Mahaprabhu suke bhojane vasila vyanjanera swadapana kahite la gila. In great happiness, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then accepted the lunch. When he had tasted the vegetables, he again began to speak. Kroda Veshera Pakera Haya Achi Swada Eta Janiye Tomaya Krishnera Prasada. Even when you cook in an angry mood, he said, the food is very delicious. This shows how Krishna is pleased with you. Apane Kaive Krishna Dahara Lagiya Tumara Haste Paka Karaya Uttama Kariya. Because he will personally eat the food, Krishna makes you cook so nicely. Wow. Ache Amritana Krishna Kara Samarpana Tumara Bhagyara Sima Kekare Varnana. You offer such nectarian rice to Krishna. Who can estimate the limit of your fortune? Pandita Kaye Kaive Sepaka Karta Amisaba Kevalamatra Samagri Acharta. Jagannatha Pandit replied, he will eat, has cooked this. As far as I'm concerned, I simply collect the ingredients. Puna Puna Pandita Nana Vyanjana Padivishe Vaya Kichuna Balena Prabhu Kayena Hadishe. Jagannatha Pandit continued to offer the Lord varieties of vegetables. Out of fear, the Lord said nothing but continued eating happily. So Lord Chaitanya was afraid of aggravating Jagannatha Pandit again. You see that sometimes with relationships between a man and his wife, that he's fearful of his wife getting upset. Even in the material world, it's like that. So the Lord is fearful of Jagannatha Pandit getting upset. Agraha Kariya Pandita Karaila Bhojana Aradina Haiti Bhojana Haila Dasha Guna. Jagannatha Pandit eagerly forced the Lord to eat so much that he ate 10 times more than in under the days. Vara Vara Prabhu Tite Karena Mana Se Kale Pandita Pariveshe Vyanjana. Again and again, when the Lord wished to get up, Jagannatha Pandit would feed him more vegetables. Kichubalitina Reina Prabhu Kayena Tarase Kaile Jagannatha Karibe Upavase. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dared not forbid him to feed him more. He just continued eating, fearful that Jagannatha would fast if he stopped. Phew. Tabe Prabhu Kahena Kari Vinaya Samana Dashaguna Koryaila Evakara Samadana. At last the Lord respectfully submitted. My dear Jagannatha, you have already made me eat 10 times more than I'm used to. Now please stop. Tabe Mahaprabhuti Kaila Chamana Pandita Nila Bukhavasa Malya Chandana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stood up and washed his hands and mouth while Jagannatha Pandit brought spices, a garland, and sandalwood pulp. Chandanari Nana Prabhu Vasila Se Stane Amara Gayaji Tumi Karaha Bojane. Accepting the sandalwood pulp and garland, the Lord sat down and said, now in front of me you must eat. Pandita Kahi Prabhu Yai Karuna Vishrama Mui Ebe Lahiva Prasada Kari Samadana. Jagannatha replied, my Lord, you go take rest. I shall take prasadam after I finish making some arrangements. Rasurira Karya Kairache Ramhai Raghunatha Inha Savaya Dite Chai Kichu Vyanjana Bhata. Ramai Pandit and Raghunatha Bhatta did the cooking, and I want to give them some rice and vegetables. Prabhu Kahina Govinda Tumi Ihani Rakhiba Pandita Bhojana Kaile Amara Kahiba. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then told Govinda, you remain here. When the Pandit has taken his food, come inform me. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was still very nervous that Jagannatha Pandit was going to fast. So Lord Chaitanya couldn't rest. He was experiencing anxiety out of love for his devotee. Eta Kahi Mahaprabhu Karila Gamana Govindere Pandita Kichu Kehina Vachana. After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had said this and left, Jagadananda Pandit spoke to Govinda, Tumi shigra yaha karite pada samvahane gahiha pandita heve vasila bhojane. Go quickly and massage the Lord's feet, he said. You may tell him the Pandit has just sat down to take his meal. Because Jagadananda Pandit was very concerned with the Lord's happiness too. So it's the mutual exchange between the Lord and his pure devotee. And Jagadananda Pandit was not angry at that particular point at the Lord. He was very concerned. Tumare Prabhu Rashesha Rakimo Dariya Prabhu Nidragele Tume Kaiha Asiya. I shall keep some remnants of the Lord's food for you. When he is asleep, come and take your portion. Ramay Nandayara Govinda Raghunatha Savare Bhatya Dila Prabhura Vyanjana Bhatta. Jagadananda Pandit thus distributed remnants of the Lord's food to Ramay, Nandai, Govinda, and Raghunath Bhatta. I guess it was Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. Apane Prabhura Shesha Karila Bhushana Tavi Govindere Prabhu Vatayla Puna. He also personally ate the remnants of food left by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then the Lord again sent Govinda. Deka Jagadananda Prasadapaya Kina Paya Shigurasi Samachara Kahive Amaya. The Lord told him, go see whether Jagadananda Pandit is eating, then quickly return and let me know. Govinda Asideki Kahila Panditera Bhojana Tavi Mahaprabhu Swasche Karila Shayana. Seeing that Jagadananda Pandit was indeed eating, Govinda informed the Lord, who then became peaceful and went to sleep. Jagadanande Prabhute Premya Chale Mate Sacha Bhama Krishna Yaiche Shuni Bhagavate. The affectionate and loving exchanges between Jagadananda Pandit and Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued in this matter exactly like the exchanges between Satyabhama and Lord Krishna related in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Jagadanandera Sobhagyera Ye Ke Kahibe Sima Jagadanandera Sobhagyera Tenaha Se Upama. Who can estimate the limit of Jagadananda Pandit's fortune? He himself is the example of his own great fortune. Jagadanandera Prema Vivarta Shune Ye Jana Premera Surupa Jane Paya Prema Dana. Anyone who hears about the loving exchanges between Jagadananda Pandit and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or reads Jagadananda's book, Prema Vivarta, can understand what love is. Moreover, he achieves ecstatic love of Krishna. The word Vivarta means accepting something to be opposite of what it appears. Here, Jagadananda Pandit appeared very angry, but this anger was a manifestation of his great love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prema Vivarta is also the name of a book written by Jagadananda Pandit. Therefore, the author of Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, uses the words Prema Vivarta to refer to one who reads the book or hears about Jagadananda Pandit's loving dealings with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In either case, such a person very soon achieves love of Krishna. And it looks like we're going to end the chapter. Wow. Shri Rupa Raghunatha Pade Yara Hasha Caitanya Caritamrta Kahe Krishna Das. Praying at the lotus feet of Shri Rupa and Shri Raghunatha, always desiring their mercy. I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, following in their footsteps in perfect timing at the end of the class. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Caitanya Caritamrta Antya Lila, 12th chapter describing Jagadananda Pandit's loving dealings with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And tomorrow we'll start chapter 13, which details the pastimes with Jagadananda Pandit, more pastimes, and Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. So today we went from 65 to the end of the chapter 12. We're going to be finished with Caitanya Caritamrta pretty soon. Not that soon, but pretty soon. Okay, so we're going to stop sharing. and then we're going to invite you to speak. And we see one hand is raised. It's Krishna Priya. You have some questions?
Yes, Gurudev, please accept my obeisances. So we always hear about how when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left, how Gadadhar Pandit was so overwhelmed that he also gave up his life. And then when you were reading about everybody coming every year from Bengal to Jagannath Puri, then I was kind of like reflecting upon how this was like something so regular in their life. Like at a certain time of the year, they'd all go, they'd all have this association, they'd be in Puri. And then when they came back. So when he left the planet, it's like, it must have just been like the biggest empty thing in their life. Like all of a sudden they weren't going and he wasn't there. And
Yeah. I mean, we had Advaita Acharya, who went back to Shantipur. He had his house, of course, in Mayapur too, the Dvaita Bhavan, and Srivas Thakur had his house in Mayapur, and Srivas Thakur left Mayapur. Dvaita Acharya left Mayapur, feeling separation from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And yeah, it must have been very intense. That every year they were going, and then all of a sudden, then basically it was like for 18 years they were going to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because some of the final 24 years he was traveling, so for about 18 years they were actually going to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then it just ended. Yes, very traumatic. All right, thank you for that. So, Gopal Das, you have a question.
Please accept my obeisances, Srila Gurudev. So we were reading in the beginning of the chapter, or the beginning of the reading today, that Lord Nityananda was ordered by Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya personally said, I ordered him. And yet Lord Nityananda is older, and it's described that specifically in his form as Lakshman, he wasn't going to ever going to appear as the younger brother of the Supreme Personality of Godhead anymore, because he didn't want to take the orders.
Right.
So how is it that Lord Chaitanya anyway is ordering him?
Because Lord Chaitanya ontologically is in a superior position. Though they're both the same person, Advaita Chuta Nadir and Antarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Labhyoganam Cha, then ontologically, then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has that right, because he is the original Supreme Personality Godhead, just like Krishna is Ete Janksa Kalakpamsa. Krishna is too Bhagavan Swayam. So this is a loving exchange between the Lord and his expansion.
But specifically in this appearance, Lord Chaitanya is acting as a devotee of Krishna, and not specifically as Krishna.
I know, but also Lord Nityananda is aware that he's Krishna.
I see.
He's also aware, and he's ordering, but then Lord Nityananda, being older, has the right to disobey the order.
How is it that externally Lord Chaitanya isn't violating etiquette by giving an order to someone who is older?
Because he's in a superior position. Everybody recognizes that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead too. He's in the mood of Srimati Radharani, but he manifested to everybody that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, in Navadvip. I mean, he sat on the throne, the deity's throne. Mm. And so, it was understood that he was, or he is, Krishna, and that Lord Nityananda is Balaram. That, even though his mood in Jagannath Puri, which was not actually revealed to everybody, generally with most of the people, he just got them to chant Hare Krishna. He didn't reveal his inner feelings. It's described during the Rath Yatra festival when he was chanting that song, "You are the same Krishna and I am the same Radharani, and I wish to meet you beneath the Vitasi tree on the banks of the Jamuna." That basically almost no one understood it except for Rupa Goswami. And of course, Sarup Damodar Goswami and the most intimate associates. So for most people, he was Krishna.
Thank you, Gurudev.
Okay?
Gurudev, I just had one comment from what Gopal just said. Gurudev, wouldn't you say that in loving exchanges, when it's such deep loving exchange like Nityananda and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that the normal formal etiquettes are bypassed at times out of love?
Yeah, obviously. Obviously. Out of love. Sometimes, a son will order his father to do something. And so that's out of love. You know. So, loving exchange. That's actually a good point too, Krishna Priya. Okay, Madhava, you have a question or a comment? You can unmute yourself. You're still muted.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Dandavad Guru Maharaj. So, on the same, I have little comment, I have some question, a little comment on Gopal Prabhu's question about etiquette. And of course, we know Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not different than Krishna. And Krishna is not Maryada Purushottam like Lord Ram, who is also Krishna. So it's a different rule. Lord Krishna never, he accepted those standard kind of etiquette thing.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that was my comment a little about that. So he doesn't have to, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu follow etiquette normal because he's not category Maryada Purushottam. So
Yeah,
anyway.
that's not his
Yeah.
role. Lord Chaitanya generally did follow the etiquette when dealing with the god brothers of his spiritual master, or even dealing with his own god brothers. There's a lot of information about etiquette that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu followed, and but when Lord Chaitanya's devotees engage in their loving exchange, they often put aside etiquette. I mean, like when you had Lord Nityananda and Advaita Acharya fighting and calling each other names and having water fights in the Indradunya Lake. I mean, it's definitely, they put aside etiquette. But in general, Lord Chaitanya was exhibiting etiquette. Like we have, when Lord Chaitanya accepted Govinda, who was his godbrother, Lord Chaitanya said, it's not the etiquette for me to take service from a godbrother. But then he overrid the etiquette by saying it was the order of Ishwara Puri, so the order of the spiritual master overrides ordinary etiquette. So etiquette is quite an interesting, complicated thing.
But even in Krishna's pastimes, even Lord Krishna also sometimes he did, sometimes he did not, because he's Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, and everyone knew Bhishma Dev and so many, and still they respected him the highest. So Krishna sometimes follows as elder in that family, sometimes didn't. So he had played both ways, but Lord Ram, he just was only Maryada Purushottam Ram. There is no deviation in case of Lord Ram. And so anyway, so my question was, you mentioned early on that when it came about the oil, the sandalwood oil, about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejecting, and of course much more because of because there was a perfume, and of course perfume also comes from natural resources. There was no synthetic material at that time, so all plant products. So it's not any different than sandalwood. So that's my kind of thought as a chemist, right? But anyway, I just wanted to bring it to, and then so when it came to be following these things, then we hear these stories like Jagannath Pandit, actually he make Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eat 10 times normal. So normally when Prabhu sannyasi has to accept very minimal, little, then how do we understand? Of course, I know it is lila, it is Jagannath Pandit, and between Chaitanya and lila, we are asking questions, something on our mind jugglery. So that is, it does not apply, but something like that, how it is plays, how it plays, eating 10 times, then compared to taking like sannyasi very little. And so that's one question. And then you said Prabhupada, he accepted because he was in Yukta Vairagya, and then he was preaching. So then, of course, understood medicine and oil, massage, and all that. Prabhupada was also, he was sannyasi, but he used it in Yukta Vairagya. But then my question to that is, of course, we are not Prabhupada. My question is that, like we are, like I am not preaching to keep the good health. Taking medicine, one gets sick. Keeping good health, so one can practice our daily sadhana. Is that I'm not a preacher, but then is it a problem? Yeah, something? Or?
No, you're preaching. You're assisting the Krishna consciousness movement. Preaching doesn't mean only speaking, but it means assisting in some way or other. It's like an army, or like Prabhupada gave the example of the Indian railway system, keep the wheels turning. So your health is actually very important too, just as important as any sannyasis or my health or any devotee's health. So it's important that you use that yukta vairagya in keeping good health, and that's very important. It's actually very important for all devotees to take care of their bodies, because the body belongs to Krishna. Lord Chaitanya wasn't neglecting his body, believe me. Actually, he did have massages every day. Not oil massages, but Govinda used to massage his legs every day. There's that description after lunch, then Govinda would give him a massage. So he wasn't against massages. All right?
Yes, thank you, Maharaj. Dandavas.
Thank you. Is it your birthday today or something? Because you have all these balloons that say Dad on them.
No. It was actually Brajeshwari Radha Brat. She is the one so much in balloon and all this kind of formality. So there was a Father's Day. So I don't believe in all these things, in these formalities, but she always a birthday and the Father's Day and the Mother's Day. So I'm not into it, but anyway, he's the one who did. Still, balloon is hanging. No birthday.
I was wondering about the balloons.
No, that was it. Father's Day balloon. Few weeks later.
Thank you very much, Madhava. So,
all right.
We'll see everybody later, or tomorrow, actually. It's time to end. All glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada.